Whale ran court in the Northeast Heights.
No one knows which direction he's headed, and after that, nothing. He is gone. Within 24 hours, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office issues a silver alert, the kind they put out when an elderly person with medical problems wanders off and can't be found. Standard missing persons protocol. Search and rescue gets involved by Sunday. The base he once commanded, Kirtland Air Force Base, starts coordinating with local law enforcement. A congresswoman posts about it on social media. On the surface, it looks routine. Tragic, maybe, but routine. Except the man who vanished isn't routine. Not even close. His name is William Neil McCasland, retired Major General, United States Air Force, PhD in astronautical engineering from MIT, former commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the single largest military research complex in the Department of Defense. The man once responsible for a $4.4 billion science and technology portfolio and a workforce of nearly 11,000 people working on directed energy weapons, space-based lasers, advanced propulsion, and classified satellite reconnaissance. And that's just the stuff on his public resume. The career. To understand why the internet lost its mind when McCasland's silver alert dropped, you need to understand who he really was, or at least who certain people believe he was. Let's start with what's documented. McCasland was commissioned in 1979 out of the Air Force Academy, astronautical engineering degree. He went straight to MIT on a Hertz Foundation fellowship, earned his master's, went back for his PhD, and then entered the most classified corners of the US military. His early career reads like a redacted document. He worked in the Secretary of the Air Force Office of Special Projects, units numbered 6, 8, and 13, at Los Angeles Air Force Base. These were the offices that built America's classified spy satellite programs. As a young lieutenant, McCasland was already handling leadership roles in highly compartmented development units during the birth of modern Air Force space reconnaissance. Through the 90s, he moved to the Aerospace Data Facility at Buckley Air Force Base in Colorado, a National Reconnaissance Office installation. Then back to LA as chief engineer of the GPS program. Then he ran the Space-Based Laser Project Office. Then to Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico, where he commanded the Phillips Research Site, one of the Air Force's premier laboratories for space vehicles and directed energy research. But two postings stand out above all others. From 2009 to 2011, McCasland served in the Pentagon as Director of Special Programs in the Office of the Under-Secretary of Defense for Acquisition, Technology, and Logistics. That title sounds bureaucratic until you realize what it means. The Director of Special Programs also serves as Executive Secretary of the Special Access Program Oversight Committee, SAPOC. That is the body that has full purview over every single special access program in the United States Department of Defense. The most secret programs in the country, all of them crossed his desk. Now, if you follow UFO disclosure circles at all, and I know some of you do, you just felt a chill. Because SAPOC is the exact body named in the Wilson-Davis memo, a leaked 15-page document allegedly recording a 2002 conversation between Admiral Thomas Wilson and astrophysicist Eric Davis. In that memo, Wilson claims he found a UFO crash retrieval program run by a defense contractor, tried to get access, was denied, and was told by SAPOC's senior review group to drop it or lose his career. That document is now part of the congressional record. And McCasland? He held the executive secretary chair of that same committee just 7 years later. Make of that what you will. The emails. But that's not what made McCasland famous. What made McCasland famous was a musician. In 2016, WikiLeaks published the hacked email archive of John Podesta, Hillary Clinton's campaign chairman and a known UFO disclosure advocate. Buried in that archive were multiple emails from Tom DeLonge, the former frontman of Blink-182, who had pivoted his career toward UFO research and was building what would become To the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences. In a January 2016 email with the subject line General McCasland, DeLonge writes to Podesta, "When Roswell crashed, they shipped it to the laboratory at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. General McCasland was in charge of that exact laboratory up to a couple years ago. He not only understands my goals, he helped assemble my advisory team. He's a very important man. Let that sink in. DeLong is telling a senior political operative that a sitting Air Force general, one who ran the lab at the base most associated with alleged Roswell debris analysis, was actively advising him on a disclosure project and helping recruit insiders to his team. Calendar invites from the Podesta archive show scheduled meetings between DeLong, Podesta, and someone signing as Neil McSee, almost certainly McCasland. Another invite included Rob Weiss, then the head of Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works, the head of the Skunk Works, at a meeting with a rock star, a political operative, and a two-star general. In a 2016 interview on Coast to Coast AM, DeLong described meeting the general, without naming him at the time, at an airport restaurant. He claimed the general leaned across the table and told him it was the Cold War, and every single day we lived under the threat of nuclear war. And somewhere in those years, we found a life form. DeLong said this man assembled his entire advisory committee, pulling in people from space operations, intelligence, and even biowarfare, people DeLong said he wouldn't have thought to need. The War Zone, a respected defense publication, later confirmed the core of DeLong's story, that his engagement with Lockheed Skunk Works was real, verified by Skunk Works itself, and that McCasland was central to the entire operation. McCasland has never publicly confirmed or denied any of it. The lab. Now let's talk about Wright-Patterson. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, is arguably the most important military research installation in America. It has been since the 1940s. It was where the Air Technical Intelligence Center was housed. It was the headquarters of Project Sign, Project Grudge, and Project Blue Book, the Air Force's official UFO investigation programs from 1947 to 1969. Over 12,000 sightings were investigated. 701 remain unidentified to this day. It was also, according to decades of lore, the destination for recovered materials from the 1947 Roswell incident. The official story is that the debris was from Project Mogul, a classified balloon program designed to detect Soviet nuclear tests. But researchers, whistleblowers, and even former base employees have told a different story. Raymond Szymanski, an engineer who worked at Wright-Patterson for 4 decades, wrote that on his first week on the job, his mentor took him into a hangar and said, "We've recovered these aliens and their machines from a crash out west, and they were brought to Wright-Patterson for evaluation and possible exploitation." McCasland commanded the Air Force Research Laboratory at this base from 2011 to his retirement in October 2013. He led billions of dollars in research across advanced materials, future weapons, and, as DeLong put it, that exact laboratory. After uniform. After retiring, McCasland didn't disappear into a quiet life. He became Director of Technology at Applied Technology Associates in Albuquerque, a small defense firm specializing in directed energy weapons, space optical communications, and precision instrumentation. That company was later absorbed into Blue Halo, a defense conglomerate headquartered in Arlington, Virginia, with major operations in Albuquerque. Blue Halo builds laser weapon systems for the U.S. Army under contracts worth nearly $100 million. McCasland also joined the board of trustees at Riverside Research, a non-profit chartered to advance scientific research for the U.S. government. He lived quietly in Albuquerque, near the base where he'd spent years of his career. And then, on a Friday morning in late February, he was gone. The disappearance. The official details are sparse to the point of being unsettling. The Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office reported that McCasland was last seen around 11 a.m. on February 27th, near Quail Run Court, northeast. They did not know what he was wearing. They did not know which direction he traveled. The Silver Alert cited medical concerns, but authorities have not specified the nature of those concerns. His physical description was released. 5'11", 160 pounds, blue eyes, grey hair. By Sunday, New Mexico Search and Rescue had joined the investigation. Colonel Justin Seacrest, commander of the 377th Air Base Wing at Kirtland, told the Albuquerque Journal the base was coordinating closely with local law enforcement. U.S. Representative Melanie Stansbury posted about the case publicly. As of this recording, he has not been found. The speculation. And then, predictably, but not without reason, the speculation began. On Reddit's r/UFOs, the post about McCaslin's disappearance shot to the top. User after user connected the dots. This was the general named in the Podesta emails, the man DeLong described as assembling his advisory team, the commander of Wright-Patterson's research lab, the former executive secretary of SAPOC. One commenter on r/aliens wrote, "Anyone in charge of overseeing such responsibilities would have likely gone through rigorous background checks, security clearances, and assessments of mental fitness throughout their career. It's hard to believe he simply wandered away." Others pushed back. One user pointed out, "Cognitive decline can happen to anyone. He retired over a decade ago. The silver alert exists for a reason." Another added, "He had already retired. There's no question he performed well throughout his career, but sometimes unexpected events occur." On r/aliens, the post gathered over 600 upvotes. Some users speculated about government involvement. "It seems like our government is attempting to hide numerous secrets," one wrote. Others drew darker conclusions. "It's likely that the billionaires with questionable backgrounds are involved in this," said another without elaboration. On Substack, journalist Jessica Reed Krause published a piece titled, "Breaking, General Link to UFO Disclosure and Podesta Emails Has Vanished." Noting what they shared reads like a routine missing persons case involving a retired officer in his late 60s. The implication being, maybe that's exactly what someone wants it to look like. YouTube channels covering UAP topics jumped on the story immediately. The Psycho Activo podcast dedicated an episode to McCaslin's disappearance, walking through his DeLong connections and the WikiLeaks emails, calling him one of Tom DeLong's most important sources. What we know. Let's be clear about something. There is, as of right now, zero evidence of foul play. Authorities have not indicated any evidence of abduction. There is no confirmed connection between McCaslin's disappearance and his professional background. The sheriff's office is treating this as a standard missing persons case under a silver alert, a protocol designed for elderly individuals or people with medical vulnerabilities. But the reason this case burns so hot is context. This is a man who held the keys to the most classified programs in the Department of Defense. A man whose name appears in leaked emails discussing Roswell, alien life forms, and a disclosure movement backed by government insiders. A man who Tom DeLong, correctly or not, placed at the center of everything. A man who, on Wikipedia, is now categorized under ufologists, alongside his engineering credentials. And this disappearance is happening in the middle of an unprecedented wave of UFO disclosure. Congressional hearings, Pentagon whistleblower David Grush, the Wilson Davis memo entering the official record, reports of special access programs operating outside government oversight, senators like Marco Rubio publicly acknowledging credible testimony about anomalous programs. McCaslin sat at the intersection of all of it, and now he's gone. Maybe he wandered away on a Friday morning, confused by a medical condition none of us know about. Maybe it's exactly as simple as it looks. History is full of tragic disappearances that have perfectly mundane explanations. But if you've spent any time in this world, if you've read the emails, followed the money, listened to the testimony, you know why people aren't accepting that answer. Not yet. Because in the UFO disclosure community, William Neal McCaslin wasn't just another retired general. He was the general. The one Tom DeLong said looked him in the eye and confirmed it all. The one who sat in SAPOC's chair. The one who ran the lab.
And now the desert has swallowed him whole.
If you have any information about the whereabouts of William Neal McCaslin, contact the